for hosting. So yes, Narayan Prabhu, yes, I posted a video of Lake Tahoe on my Facebook wall, and then I made a comment. If the temporary
the Native American, you showed the Native Americans gathered.
Yeah, no, this is a video of Lake Tahoe that I posted. Well, what are you saying about Native Indians?
Well, what I saw and clicked on was a picture with Native Americans with it describing what their relationship was with Lake Tahoe.
Oh, yeah, that was just the history of Lake Tahoe. So I'm reading.
Yeah, but I didn't see any other posting.
No, I made a comment. I made a comment in the video that I posted. I posted if the material.
I didn't see a video. All I saw was the picture of the Native Americans.
Okay.
Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, you did miss it. So
okay.
That's what.
So why not verbally describe what the video was about?
Well, the video was showing the beautiful Lake Tahoe, how it's surrounded by a wonderful lake and beautiful mountains, and a nice beach. So I made a comment here. If the material world is so attractive, why isn't the eternal spiritual world of Krishna consciousness? Then I posted, which is eternal, like all spirit souls, temporarily inhabiting all bodies. Then you made a comment here.
Yeah, but I don't quite understand what you meant by your statement.
No, I'm saying that Lake Tahoe is a beautiful place and it's a creation of Krishna. So if this material world is so attractive, meaning Krishna's creation, just imagine the spiritual world, how attractive is the spiritual world. It's incomprehensible.
I got the opposite meaning from your posting. That if the material world is so attractive, why are people interested in the spiritual world?
No, I'm saying that the material world is the creation of Krishna. It's arranged so nicely and it's beautifully arranged. Look at it, Krishna's creation. So why isn't Krishna consciousness attractive? Because it's eternal and it's much more beautiful than Lake Tahoe.
Well, frankly, I find that a little incomprehensible, but we can go with it.
Yes. Then you commented, the material world appears to be attractive due to your identification with the material body. Then you said the Uttama Adhikari Srila Prabhupada is in his rasa with Krishna in Krishna Loka. The loving exchanges with Lord Krishna in Krishna Loka are eternal and sublime. Surrender to Srila Prabhupada, not some idiot, criminal, GBC appointed ISKCON guru. Then I commented to your point. I said, in one sense, the material world is attractive because it's Krishna's indirect creation. And for a devotee, he sees Krishna's unlimited creative potency. Then I posted, Srila Prabhupada says humans are meritorious, but for doing sinful activity. And then you posted, the material world is not attractive to the pure spirit soul. It is only attractive to the jiva embedded in his latest material body, subjected to birth, death, old age, and disease. Such attraction is never met with satisfaction any more than the mirage. Then the mirage can satisfy one's thirst. We cannot compare Krishna Loka to the material world. Not even a Buddhist would agree to that.
Okay.
So that was that.
You think it was an okay answer?
Yeah, I think it's an okay answer.
Yeah, I mean, the attractiveness in the material world is a reflection. Remember, everything in the material world is described like a tree with the roots going up and the branches going down.
Yes.
And what does that mean? And trembling. It means that when you see the material world, when perceived, is upside down from the spiritual world, in that it's like a tree being reflected into a lake, and you see the tree reflected in the lake with its roots up and its branches down, but that's not the real tree. And yet, if you want to climb a tree, you can jump into the lake and grab a hold of what you think are the trunk of the tree, and you'll simply drown.
Yeah.
So the difference
Sure.
between reality and material perception is mathematically, as you could say, the opposite number.
Yes.
The only point of connection with the spiritual vision and the material vision is like there's a connection, theoretical connection between the roots of the trees in the lake and the roots of the trees on the land. But it's not a real connection. It is just where reality ends and illusion begins. The tree in the lake is illusion, and the tree on the land is Krishna Loka.
Right.
Yep.
So I'd like to read this quote from Srila Prabhupada. I was reading this, so maybe we can have a discussion on this.
Sure.
This is from Who is Crazy.
Are you putting it up on the screen?
I'm on the well, I can put it on the screen. Hold on one second. Let's see here. How can I do this? Let me share it. Let's see if I can share content. Only the host can share. Okay, let's see here. Let me claim host and let me share now. Photos. Manage. Let's see, how do I do this? Okay, here we go. I think everyone can see. Okay, Srila Prabhupada, this is from an essay, Who is Crazy, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says, one cannot see the soul with material eyes, but the soul is there nonetheless. And the fact that the body grows from the shape of a pea to full-grown manhood is proof of its presence. There are 6 symptoms of the soul's presence, and growth is one of them. If there is growth or change, one should know that the soul is present within the body.
Wow.
When the body becomes useless, the soul leaves it, and the body simply decays. One cannot directly perceive the soul's leaving the body, but one can perceive it, symptomatically, when the body loses consciousness and dies. In the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna gives the following smile to illustrate the process. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, similarly, the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up old and useless ones. So, Srila Prabhupada is commenting, one cannot see the soul with material eyes, but the soul is there nonetheless. And the fact that the body, yes, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And the fact that the body grows from the shape of a pea to full manhood is proof of its presence. So one cannot see the soul with material eyes. So we have a material body, material mind, but we are spirit souls. So how are we actually understanding that we are spirit soul with our material mind and intelligence?
Well, we have to experience being the soul by withdrawing the mind from the object of the senses. That's also stated in the Gita. You have to withdraw your mind from the object of the senses. As long as we identify with the body, we're not going to see ourselves as the soul. But when you get the mind away from the body, let the body do its own thing using the 3 modes of material nature. There's nothing spiritual about the body operating automatically under the 3 modes of material nature, right?
Yes.
There's certainly nothing spiritual about it. But when the mind is withdrawn from the body, then the body keeps going. Now, it doesn't require anything except goodness, passion, and ignorance, and all the ingredients of those things. Like if the body needs iron, if the body needs fat, the body needs so many ingredients to survive. And these things are all come from the three modes of material nature, guided by the planets under which the body was conceived and then is living. So we can say that the soul is a size, Prabhupada described the soul as the size of a pea and comes up to full manhood. But so the soul, before it's the size of a pea, it is in the grip of a constellation of planets. And when those planets are all predicting or producing the inevitable result of that jiva, then you can say, well, does the jiva not have free will? Up to a point, but if you're going to have a Chinese body or black African body or a German body, no, you cannot change that. That is there. You cannot say, well, I don't think I want a black body, I want a yellow body. You can't make that choice. You can't make that choice. So you're put there. But once you have your body and the body is articulating, then you can go by Shastric knowledge. Well, any type of knowledge, go to school, kindergarten, whatnot, but that will teach you how to operate within the body within that lifetime to some degree of betterment than not going to school. But the thing is that if you look at the situation, if you get spiritual knowledge, then you will learn the art of hitting the mind, beat the mind with a shoe in the morning and with a stick at night. And when you do that, the mind goes ouch and is forced away from the object of the senses. The mind likes to dive into where the senses are, but you have to take the mind away from the senses and let the body isolate. The body will conduct its own activity under the modes of nature. The soul does not operate. The soul in its pure sense has no connection with the modes of nature. The soul is part and parcel of Krishna. So because the soul is a spark of God, in the sense that when you find yourself as the soul, you have found Krishna himself, but not very large size, infinitesimal. Krishna is infinite and contains all souls. The jiva that becomes self-realized, he discovers Krishna as himself.
I mean, you've given a long explanation. So can you simplify that? I mean, you're saying here that the soul, which we all are, which is situated in this body temporarily, it's part and parcel of Krishna. But because the mind is identifying with the material body, we cannot understand where are the soul, right? You're saying that we have to detach the mind from the body,
from the object of the senses,
and then you can realize that you're a soul.
Ultimately. But you can't just realize you're a soul without any access to that understanding.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking. Yes.
So with Istagosti, we assume that I am a spirit soul, you're a spirit soul. We're connecting as spirit soul. Therefore, we can talk about anything and it will work out okay. But if we don't have that realization, Aham Brahmasmi, that I'm the spirit soul, then it will not make any difference. We'll just be Mayavadis. We'll just be wandering around consciously separating from the body, but not identifying ourselves as part and parcel of Krishna. Most people that are able to separate themselves from the body imagine that they are Brahman, that they're the impersonal energy, and that they're floating around in Brahman is the highest object of life. That's called impersonalism or Mayavadism. So to become a devotee, you have to understand that the soul is part and parcel of a person, of someone, and that someone is unlimited soul, and we are infinitesimal soul. Just like a jigsaw puzzle, you add the part that's missing to you have the puzzle laid out, and you have pieces of puzzle. You take the little piece and put it where it belongs in the puzzle. That's what happens when you become a devotee and you become self-realized.
Right.
Okay. Now, so what's your secondary question?
1 second here. Let me go back to the screen here.
Who came on board?
Mahaprabhu is on board. So Hare Krishna.
Mahaprabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol.
Maha means great and Prabhu means master. So you are my great master.
Hare Krishna, you're my great master. You're all my great masters.
Well, you can say, but that's not Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu means great master.
Then here, Narayan Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada is saying, one practical way to realize that here is one cannot directly perceive the soul's, what does Prabhupada say? Prabhupada says, when the body becomes useless, the soul leaves it and the body simply decays. One cannot directly perceive the soul's leaving the body, but one can perceive it, what's this word? Symptomatically, when the body loses consciousness and dies.
Yeah. So somebody's lying there breathing, grandpa's breathing, everybody says, Grandpa, don't die, stay with us, please. He's saying, well, you idiots, what do you think's happening? I'm dying. And then when he dies, the soul goes boom and leaves through an orifice in the body. And if it's Elvis Presley, it leaves through his anus because he was on the toilet when he died. But on others, more fortunate, when I saw Jayananda's dead body shortly after he passed away, I could see that the soul had symptomatically exited through his mouth. If you're a yogi and a higher consciousness, it will exit through the brow, or the third eye, or even more so, exit through the crown chakra. But that's generally only done by yogis and persons like Dhritarashtra, who meditated until their body actually caught on fire and the soul left through the crown chakra. And Draupadi, no, who was his name? Dhritarashtra's wife. Gandhari, entranced and unable to be separated from her husband, walked into the fire that he created with his own Shakti and burned up with her husband. So I don't know what happened to her, but presumably she did quite well by doing so. He went out of his crown chakra.
Soul's presence.
So you can see, even though he made so many blunders in life and was blind both spiritually and physically, that he, in the end, exited through his crown chakra in a blaze of fire. So what is it that you want to know? Do you want to know how does the soul communicate with another soul, or how does the soul communicate with Krishna?
No, my question was that Prabhupada says one cannot see the soul with material eyes, but the soul is there nonetheless. So
Well,
if
no,
our senses,
you cannot see the soul, but you can be the soul.
yes,
If I am the soul, I'm not invisible to myself. And you're talking about if you're standing next to a dying person and you see the soul of the person die, you don't see the soul leave the body. That's what Prabhupada is saying, right?
Yes.
But the actual fact is that it's a soul. If you are the soul leaving the body, you experience being the soul leaving the body, and you experience leaving the body, traveling through astral space, and possibly, and with any luck, zooming up into a high arch, and then come down and take root in the womb of a woman. Let's say, not a rabbit or a crocodile, hopefully, but take root. So you come down. You are experiencing that, and your mind travels with the soul. So when the soul leaves the body, the mind is also traveling with the soul. If the mind doesn't travel with the soul, that's when a person becomes a ghost. The mind lingers, wondering, trying to get back into the body. Then they bury the body, so that that's why you burn the body, so that the mind won't have anything to be attracted to. The mind stays in the graveyard, and the soul is stuck with the mind, and that's called a ghost. Happens all the time. Just considering how many people die unfortunate deaths, that's where the soul does not travel with where the mind does not travel with the soul into another body. So the whole goal is, at least when you die, to travel out of the chakra, whichever chakra you're traveling out of, maybe your mouth, maybe your nose, and go to your next body.
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure, Mahaprabhu, go ahead.
It was written that there are 6 symptoms of the soul's presence, and one of them is growth. Can you name a few others?
That's what I was going to ask. I don't think Prabhupada mentioned the other 5.
Okay.
Mahaprabhu?
I know dwindling is one of them.
Dwindling.
Yeah, dwindling is one of them.
How do you dwindle?
At the end of life, dwindling, and then death is the other one.
Well, dwindling of the soul? We're talking about 6 qualities of the soul. Does the soul dwindle? Or does the consciousness dwindle?
I guess if we didn't have a soul, we wouldn't dwindle at the end.
Well, you can't exist if you're not a soul. I mean, even a bug is a soul. Even a slug crawling in the garden is a soul.
What's the precise meaning of dwindling?
Could you look up, Ramachandra, could you look up the 6 qualities of the soul?
I cannot. I do not have my computer with me here, so.
Okay, Rupa,
someone else
could
will
you
have
do
to.
that?
The meaning of dwindling as well.
Yeah, and also dwindling. I don't think dwindling pertains to the soul, because the soul is non-dimensional.
Can it be that Srila Prabhupada is describing the spirit soul? The Srila Prabhupada says there are 6 symptoms of the soul's presence, and growth is one of them.
Okay, so Rupa Manjari hopefully is looking at her computer and coming up with what the other 5 are.
I guess breathing would be another one, to have breath.
Dwindling means abating, decreasing, de-escalating, depleting, diminishing, downscaling, downsizing.
And that's a quality of the soul, or the quality of the body, or of the consciousness?
The body.
Okay, so we're talking about the soul. So could you look up the 6 qualities of the soul, Rupa Prabhu? Thank you for the dwindling.
Yeah, this statement doesn't make sense, because if Srila Prabhupada is making that there are 6 symptoms of the soul, and growth is one of them. If there's growth,
he wanted to mention growth, and he did. The soul is there, and it goes inside a little lump in the
yes,
uterus.
that way.
Yeah, and as it is in that little lump, what does he call it?
Yeah, the body's changing. Yes, he's talking about the soul taking on a body, right?
Yeah, And when it takes on the body, it comes in like a little lump of protoplasm, and then it grows. So the symptom of the soul is that that little lump of protoplasm doesn't just stay there or die. The little lump of protoplasm is now animated to continue into a form, possibly a human form, possibly an animal form or insect form. It comes into some form. We have to realize we're not different from the animals or the insects. That's just a great conceit on the part of the Greek philosophers and the German philosophers and people like that. They like to think we're bigots, we're very special human beings. But the actual fact, the Catholic Church, I think it was the 7th century, they gave up the idea that cows and animals had souls. They had to give it up. They believed it for hundreds of years. But it got to be a problem. How can you slaughter animals if they have souls the way we do?
Right.
So the Pope discontinued that. Are you finding it, Rupa?
No, I wasn't able to find it.
You couldn't go into the Veda-based sort of thing and find 6 symptoms of the soul?
I'll try again.
Well, if we can't, we can't. That's okay. I'm sure they won't surprise us. I mean, it's not something that is too surprising. So Ramachandra, what do you think?
One second, let me share this again. Yeah, the 6 symptoms of the soul's presence, it'd be nice to know. So growth is one of them.
Where should
Let's
she
see.
look for it? Where should she look for it?
I'm at
Should look-
prabhupadbooks.com and I'm not able to find it.
6 symptoms.
Ramachandra, where would you look if you had a computer?
I have the whole Vedic library compendium, so I just look in there. 6 symptoms. Can you put 6 symptoms? See what comes up.
Yeah.
Maybe
Of the soul.
chanting is another one.
Well,
Maybe.
we don't know.
I'm guessing.
Well, not all souls chant. 6 symptoms of the soul means even in an insect.
Yeah, I'm not able to find it. Sorry.
Okay, no
Okay.
problem.
I'll have to find it next time, so we'll discuss next time.
Okay, next time. So let's leave 5 symptoms floating in space and go on to the next item.
Go ahead.
So Ramachandra,
Okay.
you're leading.
Well, let's see what else I wanted to talk about.
Ramachandra, are you going to need to go out and work somewhere soon?
No, not right now.
So you're on for 2 hours?
I'll be on
Okay,
for.
too bad. How come you didn't bring your computer?
Well, I didn't bring the computer because I thought I would be working, but my
Okay, well,
my
if you have it
shift is
right
different.
now, it'd be helpful. But anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah. So let's see here. Anything else devotees want to discuss online on Facebook? If they have anything to discuss, please post a message, and I'll be checking the messages in a few minutes.
So it's just 3 of us on right now?
4 of us. Mahaprabhu, Rupa Manjari, yourself, and Mahaprabhu. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah.
Haribol.
Wait a second. Say that again.
We have yourself, Mahaprabhu, Rupa Manjari, and myself.
We have a quorum.
Okay.
How many do we need to have a quorum? Narayan.
Oh, with Istagosti, a quorum means everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, we don't shut the door. Quorum means when you have your quorum, then you shut the door. In Jewish religion, a quorum is called a minyan. And that means when you have 7 people, then you shut the door.
Mhm.
Are traffic noises interfering with the meeting tonight as I drive?
No,
Not at
there's no
all.
traffic noise.
Oh, great.
The traffic is keeping the noises to itself.
Great. What happens to the mind at death?
The mind?
Yes.
The mind travels with the soul to the next body.
Does the mind
That's
travel
right.
with the soul with what it's learned in its previous life? Does it take that with
Well,
it?
no. Well, put it
Or
this
does
way.
this, the mind starts fresh?
No, no, no. The mind starts with where you're at right now. And if you were to leave your body, say within an hour or something, everything you've lived in this lifetime up to that moment of departing from the body, the mind takes with it into the next birth. But because it's a fresh birth, when you're born, you don't remember everything. Mahaprabhu doesn't remember everything he did in his 58 years or whatever it is.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And not only the mind, the intelligence also goes, right?
Huh?
The intelligence
That's it.
goes with the mind.
Yes.
The intelligence, what we've learned, the way we think.
Well, the intelligence is, the mind is what accesses the intelligence.
What is the
I mean,
intelligence?
The material world is earth, fire, water, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego. So when you leave your body for another body, the ego ceases to, you cease to be that ego. You become your next ego. You start out as an embryo ego, and it turns into a child ego, and it grows up and becomes an adult ego. So intelligence, mind, intelligence, and ego. The mind is the vehicle. Intelligence is your past life knowledge and the knowledge you acquire in this lifetime, supported by your past life knowledge. And then ego is who you are in your own perception in terms of your material existence.
So this means that when we apply it in Krishna consciousness, for example, if we cultivate Krishna consciousness and then we don't understand Krishna consciousness properly, we're going to actually start off at the same place in the next life, right?
Well, maybe.
So why maybe?
I mean, when you say don't understand Krishna consciousness properly, what exactly do you referring to?
Oh, well, for example, we have Prabhupada's ISKCON, and if we institutionalize our understanding, then we take it to the next life. For example, I am a guru in ISKCON, appointed by the GVC, and I die. And I have this mentality of
Well, whatever you experience, I mean, you may think you've learned, but whatever you've actually learned will be what you take with you into your next life.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, suppose you sit there listening to a guru telling you all sorts of stuff. Oh, all you need is the Vedas, or you need this, you obey me and you're going to go back to Godhead. So you take whatever that to heart. In your next lifetime, you won't experience it because it isn't true. So you'll experience what you did experience that was true. Whatever really happened in your life as a devotee, you'll make progress, no matter how bogus the ISKCON gurus. I mean, I'm not talking about going outside of ISKCON or outside of Prabhupada's books or philosophy. Whatever you learned within ISKCON, you'll take with you into your next birth. But it may not be a huge amount if you go through a ISKCON GBC appointed idiot guru. I say idiot because nobody in their right mind would become a guru and if they're not an Uttama Adhikari. It's sort of like a little child putting on his father's pants, pulling them up and stomping around saying, now I'm dad. I mean, it's silly, you know? I mean, isn't it silly when a child would do that? How can the child be his father? He can surrender to his father, but if he's not equal to his father, how can he pretend? Ramachandra, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. Somebody brought in a question, I believe.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. 1 second here. I want to share something here about this exact thing, what Prabhupada says. Okay, here we go. This is it. So this is Prabhupada answering. Okay, let's see this and this. So let me share it so the devotees can see online. Photos.
How can we see?
1 second. I'll share it. This and this. Okay. This.
I see Mahaprabhu.
Okay, this is from Dialectic Spiritualism. Srila Prabhupada and Samashundra are having a conversation, and Srila Prabhupada very expertly answers this question about the soul and the mind and intelligence. So
Great.
Can everyone see on the screen?
I cannot see anything. I see, yes.
Okay, you see it, okay. I'm reading the last two sentences, starting with Samashundar. Samashundar says, Socrates believed that the soul, which is tied up with intelligence, carries knowledge from existence to existence. The truth can be evoked through the meiotic method, the Socratic dialectic. Since someone can make us understand the truth and admit it, we must have known the truth in a previous existence. Thus, our intelligence is eternal. But Srila Prabhupada says, yes, because the soul is eternal, the intelligence, mind, and the senses are also eternal. However, they are all now covered. Okay, he says covered.
And then let me
yeah, let me go to the other page. Covered. Let's see. No, this is not it. Okay, covered. Prabhupada says covered by a material coating, which must be cleansed.
We don't have the screen up. We don't have
sorry. Okay, there we go. Now it is up.
Okay.
Prabhupada says covered by a material coating, which must be cleansed. Once this material coating is washed away, the real mind, intelligence, and senses will emerge. That is stated in the Narada Pancharatra. The purificatory process necessitates being in touch with the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This means chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Chaito Darpana Majanam. We must cleanse the heart. All misconceptions come from misunderstanding. We are all part and parcel of God, yet somehow or other we have forgotten this. Previously, our service was rendered to God, but now we're rendering service to something illusionary. This is Maya. When liberated or conditioned, our constitutional position is to render service. Prabhupada says, whether liberated or conditioned, our constitutional position is to render service.
Yeah. Well, because you have all the equipment for rendering service, and you either render service when you're in the illusion of being the body that you took birth in this time, or you're rendering service to Krishna eternally as spirit soul.
Yeah.
But rendering service is there. A mother nurses her baby. Come on.
Yeah. Whether liberated or conditioned, our constitutional position is to render service. In this material world, we work according to our different capacities. As a politician, as an industrialist, a thinker, a poet, or whatever. But if we are not connected with Krishna, all of this is Maya. When we perform our duty in order to develop Krishna consciousness, our very same duty enables liberation from this bondage. In any case, both life and knowledge are continuous. Consequently, one person can acquire knowledge very quickly, whereas another cannot. This is proof of continuity.
Yeah, well, that's essentially what I said, isn't it?
Yeah. So Prabhupada is saying here, because
The
the
Prabhupada
mind...
puts it excellently and succinctly.
Yeah. Joy.
So go ahead.
So Prabhupada says here, the mind, intelligence, where is that? Well, let me share again. Here it is. No, not this one. Not this one. This one here. Prabhupada says, yes, because the soul is eternal, the intelligence, mind, and senses are also eternal.
Yeah. In other words, when you go to Krishna Loka, you're not mute.
Yes.
You're able to, and you're not unable to feel. Thinking, feeling, willing, sensing, that all takes place in the spiritual sky. But with your spiritual senses, in the material world, the spiritual senses are being driven by the jiva under the illusion of the mind. The senses are being driven to experience things through the material body. But that is, if you look at it from a distance and from a spiritual point of view, it's a ridiculous thing to do. I mean, everyone is in the material world is doing it. Therefore, it's okay and good? No, therefore it's ridiculous. After many births, they surrender themselves to Krishna. They don't do so blindly, but knowing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of everything. However, this process of self-searching for knowledge takes time. If we take the instructions of Krishna directly and surrender unto him, we save time and many, many births.
Joy.
So by
where are you reading
with
that from?
Srila Prabhupada, we will save many, many births. And let me add that if, supposing that Srila Prabhupada intended that his tapes would be the salvation sound vibration, that if you turn on the tape so that it fills the whole room and you're sitting there absorbed in it, you're going to go back to Godhead very, very quickly compared to a person taking initiation from a Diksha guru and all the complicated stuff that they're trying to create. In other words, if you want to go back quickly, and he says, what does he say? He says, anyhow, he said, saving time. Or did you change the page?
Did the page change? I don't know.
It's at the
No, I
bottom.
don't know.
It's at the bottom right before Shyamsundar Das.
Oh, okay. They do sublime. They not. The people known of Gyanavan, wise men, and after many births, they surrender themselves to Krishna. After many births, they surrender themselves to Krishna. They do not do so blindly, but knowing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of everything. However, this process of self-searching for knowledge takes time. If we take instructions of Krishna directly and surrender unto him, we save time and many, many births.
Right.
And you see, this, we are bypassing the genuine process of self-realization for an accelerated process.
Yeah.
If we take the instructions of Krishna directly and surrender to him, we save time and many, many births.
Can you
Okay,
elaborate?
so
Can you elaborate on that, please, Narayan?
Yes. Srila Prabhupada is capable of delivering anyone and everyone from the material world. That saves many, many births. But to get
Right.
that advantage, one has to find Prabhupada, either in sound vibration, in book, or in some sort of form, but basically hearing his kirtan on recordings, and surrender. If you surrender to Prabhupada chanting the kirtan, you will go back to Godhead very quickly. But people are so perverse and so stuck that they would rather create a system of birth after birth and guru after guru, line after line, and sectarian branch after sectarian branch. They want to do that to avoid rapidly going back to Godhead. So our philosophy is, if you want to go rapidly back to Godhead, then put Prabhupada in the center of ISKCON in the form of his recording. And then raise your eyebrows to ask, why hasn't anyone thought of doing this before? If you start to think of the contrast, here's Prabhupada, full of spiritual intelligence, knowledge, and energy and sound vibration in the temple, broadcast through the speakers and broadcast through the devotees who meditate on his chanting by headphones, so that when they chant, you can hardly tell the difference between them chanting and Prabhupada chanting, meaning they've surrendered their intelligence to Srila Prabhupada without the need for no hard and fast rules, melodies from here, melodies from there. When they have done that, then look at the people on the outside. What the heck are they doing on the outside? How are they going to advance? They want their own guru. They want their successor guru. They want this. They want that. Okay, imagine how much delay that is taking them away from surrendering directly to Prabhupada. Unfortunately, now ISKCON temples are controlled by the GBC, who created the no hard and fast rules idea, so that there would be a separation between ISKCON and Srila Prabhupada. But if we regain the ISKCON temples, then Srila Prabhupada being in the center is not just a dull figure in the middle. Prabhupada in the center is sound vibration, taken from his recordings. Now you say, well, recording, why recording? Why not live? Well, because we missed that opportunity. But even we didn't miss that opportunity. We did lots of good stuff when he was here. But now is the time to go to the bank and open up the flood of Krishna consciousness, pure love of God. That we can do by accessing Prabhupada's chanting. And anyone who is flooded by that chanting will very quickly become a liberated soul. Not gradually, not this way or that way, not after many births, but they will become a liberated soul very, very quickly. How many lifetimes? Well, if Prabhupada is in the center of every ISKCON temple without any other temples being around to distract people, or if they are around, the people are not distracted but come to the Prabhupada ISKCON temples. If that happens, then if you don't make it this lifetime, you go to the next lifetime. There you'll be in the midst of Prabhupada chanting Hare Krishna from recording. Oh, then what about that? Miss that one. Then you go to the next one. You can go for hundreds of years if you want, if you can't get through. Or you may go back to Godhead in the process. Or you may become to the point where you don't want to go back to Godhead, but you want to stay here and save all the fallen souls out of compassion, having gotten that sense of mercy. Causeless mercy is described as Prabhupada. The Guru is causeless mercy. You've got the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Maybe you want to stay here and deliver the fallen souls. Say, who am I to go back to Godhead? Let me stay here and serve him. Does it make sense?
Jai, yes.
And if you insist on going back to Godhead, what if you go there and Krishna says to you, what the heck are you doing here? Where's all the souls you've delivered? I want you coming back. Go down. Come back next time with 12 million jivas following you. Why come back by yourself, you greedy little SOB? Does it make sense?
Yes.
So it's a question of broadening one's heart to include everyone. If you broaden your heart to include every jiva, you won't want to go back to Godhead right away. Oh, you'll become qualified. You become an Uttamadhikari. You'll be in your rasa with Krishna. Krishna will be with you as you stay here. But you won't want to go back to Godhead until everyone is back to Godhead. Why would you want to go back and leave everybody behind? If you do that, then you're not a pure devotee. If you want to go back to Godhead and say to hell with everybody else, does that sound like pure bhakti to you? If you become a pure devotee and say, who am I to go back to God? Like that story that Prabhupada gave. Who am I to associate with Krishna? Let him play with gopis and let me stay here and serve him. That is the very perfection of devotional life. Stay here and serve him, not try to find an escape route to Krishna Loka without even understanding Madhyamadhikari, and certainly without understanding Uttamadhikari. You think you're going to go there with a camping chair and you're going to sit down in your shorts and your t-shirt that says something or other on it, your dark glasses, and say, okay, here I am in Krishna Loka. What are you going to do for me, Krishna? How are you going to serve me here? Believe me, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't even slightly work like that. When you come to Krishna Loka, you come only when you're in a reciprocal relationship with Krishna. But if you stay here saying, Krishna Loka, let me stay here for the rest of Kali Yuga and serve Krishna by delivering the fallen souls that he wants delivered. If you want to please Krishna, then deliver the fallen souls. Is there a better way to please Krishna than that? You want to offer him a flower, a fruit, a flower, or something like that? Water, flower, fruit, or even elaborate prasada? Sure, he'll accept that offering from you. But why do you want to do that? Father Vinayak Sharma sent a text. Why do you want to do that? Why not say, you want these souls? You say to Lord Chaitanya, you want these souls delivered? You gave me the chunk of transcendental touchstone called the Hare Krishna mantra, which is a Shaktivesh avatar. I look at it as like a big chunk, like a big brick of the Hare Krishna mantra. You've given that to us. We accept it from you. What should I do now? How do I please you? Oh, make sure everyone has that. Why just me?
No, Narayan, there's a question for you.
From Vinayak?
Yeah. He says, I had a question about Tamal Krishna and your other god brothers who were connected to Narayan Maharaj. Were they also associated to some Sahajiya Babajis, from where this Gopi Bhava misunderstandings come from in ISKCON?
That came from, I don't know how many sources there is I'm sure there's more than one. Bhaktisiddhanta's physical brother, Lalit Prasad, went to Radhakund and studied the Sahajya, Rasika. But Narayan Maharaj went there, and his guru, Keshava Maharaj, dragged him back by the ear forcibly and said, "You would never go there again." So he didn't until Keshava passed away in 1968, in which case he zoomed back there to Radhakund to learn all the Rasika stuff, by which he said he was spiritually superior to Srila Prabhupada. So to answer your question directly, there may be several, but Narayan Maharaj is the one that influenced Tamal. And when in 1996, they had these Rasika meetings, and Narayan Maharaj was praising Tamal as being Prabhupada's most advanced disciple and all of that. And he was doing that because he knew that Tamal Krishna was going to ask the GBC to vote Narayan Maharaj to become the next Acharya. Well, when it got to be 1992, after a lot of devotees, including Jadharani, who later on became a disciple of Narayan Maharaj, they were all studying this, and also the guy that's doing the editing, what's his name? Not Jatirtha, but the other one.
Dravida.
Dravida, yeah, he was part of that group, and there was a number of people, senior devotees, you would think would be knowing better. That there was, I don't know how many there were, half a dozen or a dozen even, or whatever it is. They were learning Rasika from Narayan Maharaj. So there's enough to go around. So in 1992, Tamal positioned that Narayan should be the Acharya of ISKCON. Well, obviously, if Narayan became the Acharya of ISKCON, Tamal would have been his most confidential advisor, and he would have stuck with Narayan Maharaj like glue, and at the right moment to take over, he would poison Narayan Maharaj, and that way Tamal would become the Acharya of ISKCON. But it didn't turn out like that. The GBC told Tamal, "You must reject Narayan Maharaj, never associate with him again." He was thick and thin with him. Never associate with him again. And, and if you do, we will kick you out of ISKCON. So Tamal hastened back to ISKCON, to his role as one of the so-called gurus. And Narayan Maharaj was left completely thunderstruck that he was suddenly abandoned. Later on, Narayan is capable of making surprising statements. He made this surprising statement by saying, "Oh, I always knew Tamal was poisoning Prabhupada." That's interesting. He knew that Prabhupada had poisoned Prabhupada when he said Prabhupada was when Tamal was Prabhupada's top disciple. And how about when Narayan Maharaj and Tamal were attending to Srila Prabhupada as he was being poisoned? So Narayan Maharaj is confessing, "I always knew he was being poisoned." That's how stupid Narayan Maharaj could be, is to say, because if he says, "I always knew," if he's a real guru, he's Trikalagya, so he knew that Tamal was poisoning Prabhupada. Why did he not stop to prevent him from poisoning Prabhupada? Or did he hope to profit from it by becoming declared ISKCON Acharya? I mean, no matter how you slice it, it's really dim-witted what he did. Okay, is Vinay satisfied with the answer?
Yeah, I think Vinayak is satisfied. Vinayak Prabhu also shared this wonderful letter by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada talks about this specific incident that happened in Los Angeles. This was dated June 7th, 1976. So I'll read the letter that Srila Prabhupada writes to Nitai Das. My
and
dear
please
Nitai,
understand that Prabhupada was not blind or stupid. He knew before 1970, he knew that they were going to poison him to death. He's a saint, So he did not think of his own welfare and run away to save his life. He stayed on to deliver the fallen souls, including those that were murdering him. Go
So
ahead.
Srila Prabhupada writes in June 7, 1976, my dear Nitai Das, please accept my blessings. I have received information about some of our devotees are mixing with the Babajis in Vrindavan. This has produced so many problems amongst our men and women who visit Vrindavan. Here in Los Angeles, we have found that there is a group of about 40 devotees who privately meet to discuss the intimate pastimes, artificially thinking that they can enter into the understandings of the gopis prematurely. This will create havoc in our society, and the result will be that if this is allowed to go on, our preaching work will be hampered. This premature desire to understand the Leela of Krishna is due to mundane sex life desire, as we have seen amongst many of the Babajis and Sahajyas in Vrindavan. Our Jagannath Das came from Vrindavan asking me that he had heard some Babaji speaking about Siddha Deha, and he was also listening to these Babajis. So I want this immediately stopped. If it continues, this mixing with the Babajis, then it will mean spoiling. In many cases, these Babajis keep 2 or 3 women. Ashtanga Tyagi, their association, Ashatsanga Tyagi, their association is to be avoided and prohibited amongst all of our devotees who visit Vrindavan. I hope this meets you in a good health. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami.
Okay, I'd like to say 2 things. One
Sure,
is that Nitai
sure,
was rejected by Srila Prabhupada because Nitai could not accept that Bhaktisiddhanta was actually initiated by Gorkha Das Babaji, because Gorkha Das Babaji didn't do a fire sacrifice and all the things, flowers and whatnot, ghee and all that. He initiated, being the highest level of transcendentalist, he initiated Bhaktisiddhanta by picking up a handful of Ganges mud and putting it into Bhaktisiddhanta's hand. That was actually, from a pure devotee on the highest mystical level, true initiation. And Nitai quit from being Prabhupada's disciple, saying the whole sampradaya is false after that. The other thing I'd like to say is those 40 devotees that were going, I didn't know there's that many, those 40 devotees were under the control of and being managed by Puranjan. That's where the Puranjan broke with Srila Prabhupada. Puranjan broke with Srila Prabhupada over that issue and stormed out of his room without any apology. Puranjan was also the temporary or acting head of the Spanish PDT when the actual head was in South America. And he quit. He left New Dwarka without, he refused to apologize to Prabhupada, saying, but Prabhupada, we're just reading from your writing. It's not offensive. It is your own writing. Why are you prohibiting us from having classes on the pastimes that are in your writing? And of course, that's 10th canto writing. And Prabhupada said, to become a devotee, you start by reading first canto, which is Krishna's lotus feet. And then you proceed up the body of the Bhagavatam until you reach the head. But he's clarified, you have to realize each level before you go to the next. It's not just like picking up a book and reading it and saying, oh, I got that part, okay. Now I'm well educated. Do you see the distinction there? So he condemned, in that time, he condemned Puranjan for doing this. And Paranjan had made that occur. And Prabhupada was so upset when Paranjan refused to apologize that he took his silver thali and dishes full of extraordinarily prepared prasadam, took and threw it down, face down on the ground, which is not a usual thing for Prabhupada to do. And then he was screaming at Paranjan. The Paranjan just got up and said, well, I disagree, and left without offering a basis to Prabhupada. Then he claims, oh yeah, he just everything was fine. I made it up with Prabhupada. He kissed my little baby in Paris or something of that sort, or in Bhaktivedanta manner. I don't know what happened, but as far as I know, he did not. I'd like to see, if there's some proof, I will acknowledge it and apologize to Paranjan. But until he offers proof, and I suggest, why don't you have some written, some tape of that day and have some photos. There's always people running around making photos. And that's why Paranjan cannot be accepted as anything other than a person trying to get back into the mercy of Prabhupada by creating Pada, P-A-D-A, Prabhupada Anti-Definition Association. Well, he is the one who defamed Prabhupada. And that is why his guidance is useless to anyone. He has never apologized. Even now, he claims it didn't happen rather than apologize. But there's plenty of documentation, plenty of witnesses. So I went through a whole period of time getting all of that gathered. So that's what I like to say. Hare Krishna. Do you have more to say on that passage? Ramachandra.
That was not me. That was Vinayak Prabhu's question. So I just read it.
Okay, well, was Vinayak satisfied by the unexpectedly tempestuous response?
Let's see. He'll have to type it in.
Well, he's not online personally, eh? He's at work probably, right?
So
Yeah,
it's
type it in. Ask him if he has any follow-up questions.
so I just has this curiosity about like those they used to be like so much staunch devotees and so much scholarly and read books of Prabhupada and everything. Then what was there in the philosophy that they get from these places that they displayed these kind of behaviors afterwards?
Well, I was initiated in 1968. Tamal was either initiated late 1967 or early 1968. So was Mr. John. After 1970, they had conspired against Prabhupada to create a GBC that was not elected against his direct written order and against their own signatures. So they were conspiring against Prabhupada from that point, saying they're senior devotees. Well, Prabhupada used them. Yeah, he did. He relied a great deal on Tamal for getting things done. But that doesn't mean that they were with Prabhupada. They were conspiring to become guru starting with 1970. If they weren't conspiring like that, they would have accepted being elected as GBC. You get the point. So it wasn't, they may have been on, so you could look at it in two ways. On one side, they were very great devotees doing wonderful service. On the other side, they were conspirators getting ready to murder Prabhupada. I mean, 7 years from our perspective, it's been 52 years since 1970. In that 52 years, well, the first seven, after the first seven, they could not resist poisoning Prabhupada because they were terrified that Prabhupada would name somebody else other than them to be successors. And they were plotting from 1970 onward to become successors. Do you see?
Yeah. And some of them were like influenced after 1975, 76 when they got in their association in Vrindavan.
Say that again.
I think like some of them got influenced afterwards, after they got association in Vrindavan or those areas of Vrindavan.
Well, yes, just imagine you have a neophyte devotee named Tamal Krishna or something else, some other name, devotee, and they declare themselves to be guru, and they realize they don't know anything about Krishna consciousness beyond what they learned from being neophytes. And there's plenty of devotees in ISKCON who understand Krishna consciousness equally to them. So what can they do to become superior if they don't try to get into, say, gopi pastimes or something that makes it seem as though they are self-realized souls meditating on the rasas of Radha and Krishna? It's just more of the confounded trickery. The Sahajis in Vrindavan, to them, that's their whole bag. They do that whole meditation thing for gopi pastimes, have girls, have women for sex, and all of that stuff. That's their thing. But for Tamal, who had a process done to prevent him from having a medical procedure done in China to disable him from having an erection, can you imagine the devotee on the Vyasaswan with an erection?
Like, is this confirmed? Like, he did this thing in China?
Yeah, he had that procedure done in China, but he was exiled to China.
Like, I'm hearing this for the first time.
Well,
Like
yes, but
someone did
because
this kind of
you're
operation.
newer to it. If you had been here 10 years ago, pretty much everybody knew it. So one time
Okay.
what's his name? What was the one? The guru in Los Angeles was Rameshwar. Rameshwar one time, was pretty much the head of the art department. I was the director of the art department, but it was all going on under his umbrella. And he was commuting directly with Srila Prabhupada as long as Prabhupada, until Prabhupada. I was involved between 1975 till 1980, but in 1977, we know that Prabhupada ceased to respond to the questions that we sent to him about paintings, but we kept on painting, and Rameshwar kept on trying to come up with answers. I don't quite remember how he did it. But anyway, one time Rameshwar was in the front of the artist. He was sitting in front, and the artist was sitting in a semicircle, couple of semicircles behind it, in front of him, and he's sitting there with a sannyasi robe pulled up, and he was not wearing any kopin. He was not wearing any Brahmin underwear, and there he was with a big erection. The girls that were the artist girls were sitting there, but they were riveted. They couldn't take their eyes away, of course, because it's only natural. And I finally went up to Rameshwar, tapped him on the shoulder, and said, "You'd better cover your erected dick, Prabhu." And so he did, relieving the artist girls. I mean, they were absolutely sitting there like transfixed, like hypnotized, staring ahead at Rameshwar's private parts. So
We have some questions. Yes. Okay, good.
Tamal had
Go ahead.
himself disabled, and Rameshwar did not. Then he ran off with a young girl. Go ahead.
Okay. We have some questions from our devotee viewers online. So
Excellent.
okay, so Edwin Chandra makes a comment, as consciousness is a symptom of the soul. And then he asks, what is the symptom of a conditioned soul and a liberated soul? That's his first question. What is the symptom of a conditioned soul and a liberated soul?
They're the same. They're both completely conscious. However, the liberated soul is not attached to the bodily conception of life. So he's not, if you look at the body and its eyes as being sort of like spectacles that you can wear, the conditioned soul is looking through the spectacles and seeing himself as a man or a woman or a cat or a dog or a bird or an insect or whatever body he's in. He's looking at the world through those spectacles. But he's conscious, he's perceptive. The liberated soul has learned that Aham Brahmasmi, I am not this body. Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahman, I am spirit soul. What is Brahman? The Brahman is Krishna. Achinta Veda Veda Tattva means simultaneously as Brahman, simultaneously one and different than God. The impersonalists say Brahman is who you are. We say we are Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi means I am Brahman. Achinta Veda Veda Tattva meaning simultaneously one and different, meaning we are spiritual energy, but we also have identity that is eternal. Okay, so is there any part of the question that needs further answering?
Okay, so he'll type it if he has any further.
Yeah, please do, please do.
And then he asked the question. Okay, he asked, how can I know what my next life will be?
Well, your next life will depend on what you do in this lifetime, as well as what you've done in previous lifetimes. Even if you're quite innocent, you could be driven, if you're an impersonalist, you could be driven by your previous lives to take a life for enjoyment or suffering according to what you did in those lifetimes. For your past lifetime to determine this lifetime. And we don't know exactly, I don't know exactly who you are, a man, woman, or Indian or Westerner or Martian. I don't know what your body is this lifetime. But whatever it is, if you want to understand what will be your next lifetime, you have to prepare for it by chanting Hare Krishna. If you chant sincerely the Maha Mantra day and night and listening to Prabhupada's sound vibration on recording and never chanting any kirtan that is not the same as Prabhupada's chanting on recording, then you will take a very high birth ready to go into Prabhupada's direct association.
Okay, we have some more. Yes.
Wait, if you don't do that, then you will be, we have plenty of time right now. If you don't do that, you'll be going into some other birth in the material world, and who knows what that will be. If you take an ISKCON guru, you'll take a birth connected to his karma, not his dharma. His dharma will be beneficial to you, but his karma will direct who you take birth as. You surrender to a guru, ISKCON guru, and if he becomes a goat in his next lifetime, you will also become a goat in your next lifetime. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, then he asks, or he makes some statements about our discussion that we were having. He says,
Yes.
What is the use of recalling all this kind of offenses against Prabhupada? Who are we to judge Prabhupada disciples?
No, we're not here to judge Prabhupada disciples. We're here to judge that Prabhupada's movement and Prabhupada have been kidnapped by others. It doesn't matter what their names are, doesn't matter how many good things they've done or how many bad things they've done. They kidnapped the movement. We want the movement back. And if we get the movement back, it will be an elected GBC. If these guys are Prabhupada disciples, why did they accept an unelected GBC? Just for profit and adoration and distinction. They want money and power. Is that a good thing for a devotee? They may produce so many things. They may have so many shalagram shilas. They may do so much puja. Fine. I don't have any objection. In fact, I fought for my obeisances to them on that account. But if they cannot accept that this movement belongs to Prabhupada, that the GBC is meant to be elected and not turned into a totalitarian monster, which preposterously claims to be the ultimate ecclesiastical authority of ISKCON. What does the ultimate ecclesiastical authority of ISKCON come from? That is the description of the Pope. It's not from the Shastras. It's the description of the Catholic Church Pope, except they don't say Pope. They say we, meaning 100 of them are the ultimate ecclesiastic authority, rather than like the Vatican, the cardinals say one person is the Pope. So that's we're not here to criticize our godbrothers. I'm not, nor am I anybody that's initiated by one of my godbrothers. I'm not. We just want ISKCON back. We want Prabhupada in the center. We want Prabhupada's kirtan, sound vibration, to be the predominant sound vibration, since it's the only, Prabhupada chanting is the only person that chants spiritually and transcendentally, because he is known as the transparent via medium for Krishna. And Prabhupada's kirtan, which is the only kirtan to listen to, the only kirtan to become immersed in, is ignored by all of my godbrothers. So I'm not criticizing him. I'm just saying, get the hell out of the way. Don't interfere with our access to Srila Prabhupada by clinging onto ISKCON, putting up Vyasasans to distract from Prabhupada. No, let Prabhupada be in the center. He is in the center. You're putting your butts against his image so that you will be in the center. Get out of the center. You don't belong in the center. You belong around, turn around and offer your obeisances to Prabhupada's sound vibration in the center of ISKCON. But can you imagine? Nobody has ever considered that kirtan should be modeled only after Prabhupada, since he's the only pure devotee in the arena. There's no other pure devotee to be seen. And people have gone through agony saying, well, Prabhupada is a pure devotee, he's an Uttamadhikari, so how are we going to get our Kanistha Adhikari in neophytes to be gurus? The answer is you don't. Why not? Because you can surrender to Prabhupada in his sound vibration form. Thakur Bhaktivinoda writes, he reasons ill who say Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. Sound? How about recording on ISKCON tapes? Vaishnavas die to live. Okay, you don't die, you live through your sound vibration, and living spread the holy life around. So Prabhupada is fully able, on the prediction and blessing of Thakur Bhaktivinoda, to spread the holy life around if we accept him. But nobody ever has. Everybody wants to do their own kirtan. They want to do their own chanting. Oh, no hard and fast rules for chanting. I'll tell you, there's one hard and fast rule. When you take initiation from a pure devotee, the hard and fast rule is you chant like the pure devotee from whom you have taken initiation. Nobody else. And the fact that they all, in Prabhupada's face, made up melodies and made howling and dancing like idiots was an insult to Srila Prabhupada. How can anyone chant differently than the person that gave him Diksha, which means access to Krishna Loka? How can you not chant like that person? You know, hard and fast rules means people like us can chant instead of just qualified Brahmins. Take that to the marketplace, sell it. That's good. Go everywhere. Dham Hatha, marketplace of the holy name. Go out in the marketplace of the holy name. Say, you're not disqualified from chanting the holy name of Krishna. If you're in India, say, but I'm a Malacha. I'm an untouchable. I'm not a Brahmin. I can't chant Krishna's holy name because I'm taking dead. I'm a knacker. I killed it. I take the dead animals and cut them up and eat the dead flesh after they've already died, and then take the bones and the hooves and whatnot and the horns and make things and sell them in the marketplace. I can't chant Hare Krishna. And then you go and say, yes, you can. There is no hard and fast rule to prevent you, Malacha, from chanting Hare Krishna. Even if you've killed a cow and eat it, there's nothing to stop you from chanting Hare Krishna. Now, if you want to be a devotee, you have to become a Kanistha Adhikari. You have to follow the four regulated principles. But that is not a requirement for chanting holy name. Anyone can chant. You don't have to be a member of ISKCON or a Kinnisadakari or follow the regulated principles to chant the holy name. You don't have to. You can chant the holy name no matter what you do. You can be the most perverted person and chant the holy name. You can do that. But if you want to become a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, then you come to ISKCON and become his disciple, not the disciple of some guy that used to eat hamburgers on hot dogs 10 years ago. Okay?
Yeah, that's a fact. You know, some of these people who became devotees in 1975, in 1985, they became gurus. You know, just 10 years ago, they were eating hamburgers and hot dogs. So
Yeah.
that's actual fact that you have said. You know?
So who the hell do they think they are?
Yeah.
How can they possibly conclude that they become guru by becoming Kinnisadakari?
Yeah.
And the lecture of instruction says the Kinnis and Madhya Madhakari can take on disciples, but they have to be on the same platform. But the key is the disciple cannot make advancement under their insufficient guidance. Therefore, accept only a pure devotee. Where are you going to find a pure devotee? Well, there's only one. Where is a pure devotee? Is it any of these devotees? Acharyas? No. They may be very pious. They may be very good scholars. They may be very devoted. They may be very chaste, but they're not pure devotees. Meaning they're not Uttama Adhikaris. Where do you find an Uttama Adhikari? Well, come into a post-GBC ISKCON temple. Prabhupada is there. He's the Uttama Adhikari. What will you hear coming through the loudspeakers in the temple, flooding out of the temple into the streets around? Will be Prabhupada's sound vibration chanting Hare Krishna. And you're going to say he's dead and he can't do it? He reasons who say Vaishnavas die when thou art living still and sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and living spread the holy life around. So anyone who says the pure devotee cannot be the Acharya after so-called death is an atheist.
Okay. Okay.
An
Edwin
ill-informed
Prabhu.
atheist.
Edwin Prabhu asks a further question. He's saying, those who have already taken initiation from GBC Guru, should they renounce their Guru?
Well, if they want to take initiation from Srila Prabhupada, I think they should go, and the officiating acharyas within the temple can perform, just like they are performing weddings or performing Shraddha ceremony when people die. They're performing Annaprasana ceremony when a child is 4 months old and can pick between the coins and the books. They can also give Diksha. When they come in to take Diksha from Prabhupada, who is there in sound, living still in sound, they can meditate as to renounce the Guru. If they want to renounce the Guru, they can go to the Guru and say, thank you for whatever you have given me. Thank you for whatever knowledge. Thank you for taking on my karma. But now I want my karma back because I do not want to take a birth to follow you into your next life because you've taken my karma, you're forced to. I'm saying, please be kind. Give me my karma back. And I will come and give it to the officiating acharya to give to Srila Prabhupada during the Agnahotra ceremony. Otherwise, do you really want to take birth where your initiating guru is going to take birth? Now, you might say there's so many nice ones, but imagine Kirtanananda. Can you imagine taking a birth with Kirtanananda? Homosexual, child molester, as he was a guru and child molester and pedophile, all these things. And you want to go there because he took on your karma? Better he keeps his own karma and the karma of the thousands of people he initiated. Get your karma out of there if you can. You could meditate to Lord Krishna, begging for forgiveness. And when we have the officiating acharyas in the liberated ISKCON temples, that are how Prabhupada in the center chanting in such a way, when you walk in the door, you're swoon in the midst of his sound vibration, and swoon in the presence of recorded kirtans of the members of the temple who are chanting indistinguishably from Prabhupada because they've got headphones, and in order to become initiated themselves, they have to memorize how Prabhupada chants and chant no other way. No hard and fast rules means whoever comes to take initiation is allowed to take initiation. Not that he can chant any damn thing he pleases. Because if you do, you can go out. You don't have to be an ISKCON. You can go out in the street and chant any melody you like. You can chant rap music. You can chant drug dealer music. Why not? Why not chant the music of crackheads? And then you die. Where will you go? Back to Godhead? Or will you become burned as a crackhead with an opportunity to chant Hare Krishna as a crackhead? What guarantees that if you chant crackhead melodies, that you're going to go back to Godhead? You can't chant those melodies in Krishna Loka. You can't even chant those melodies on the earth planet when it was pious and good. Like 100 years ago, you could not chant crackhead kirtans on earth. The people would not allow you to smoke crack or snort crack or whatever you do with crack. They would not allow it. So you think you're going to go back to Godhead with crackhead melodies? Or if you're a crackhead becoming a devotee, you'll make up your own melody? Completely conceived in the realm of crackheadness? Why do you imagine such a stupid thing? That's not what's meant by no hard and fast rules. Or if you want to make it mean that to yourself, you're welcome to give it a try. But we'll not see you for many births because you'll take a lower birth. But you'll get to chant Hare Krishna in that lower birth. But it will be a lower birth if that's what you really, really want. Okay? So best to go to Prabhupada's, we liberate Prabhupada's temples. You go in the front door and hear Prabhupada's kirtan, become immersed so that when you're sleeping at night, you hear his kirtan in your head because you can't get it out of your head. That's perfection. Okay, Haribol, what's next?
Let's see if there's any more questions from our devotees. Let's see.
Is that person satisfied with the answer?
Well, he'll reply.
Well, invite him. And
No.
if he disagrees, I encourage him to disagree if he wants to disagree.
Try.
Istanagosti isn't just a one-sided thing. I'm speaking from my level of realization. Let him speak from his level of realization and let us come to some agreement in the Istanagosti meeting. Let's come to some agreement halfway along or whatever way along, but it's not me just coming up with perfect answers. And
He's saying thanks for the response.
okay, well, you're welcome, Prabhu.
Try. Excellent. So that's about it for tonight, I guess. Anything else from our devotees here?
It's only 9:30 right now,
Yeah.
so it's not it for tonight. We have half an hour to go. What if people start coming on and find we're no longer here? We should almost make it an iron rule, 2 hours.
Jai, let's see
Okay.
anything else here. Yeah, sure. If there's anything else here, let's see what we have. Okay.
Well, if nothing else, we could bring up that thing that we worked on, that we read last night. So,
Which one?
Vashish
What did
is
we-
not, Mohit is not on board,
It seems like it.
that he's not.
Hare
or he is.
Krishna Prabhu, Haribol, Jai, Tanvat Pranam Prabhu.
Here's Mohit.
Okay.
Haribol.
Haribo.
Did you hear anything of this?
Prabhu, I've heard that it was excellent, superb, point blank on target, but I couldn't speak much because of my health issues. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I see. Yes, yes. But take care of
The
yourself.
last 2 days I'm on fever.
But
Prabhu.
you don't have to do it. Don't do anything strenuous. But your picture here is encouraging
very
us
much.
to go on to the next platform.
Sure,
Yes.
Prabhu.
So you see, I have been initiated in 1968. That's 54 years ago. And I have just come to the realization, tapping on the door of the realization, not fully in charge of the realization at all, but that Srila Prabhupada's recordings are the only way ISKCON can survive for 10,000 years. Now, why? Thakur Bhaktivinoda talks about, and we're going to have to bring Dr. Thakur Bhaktivinoda's text up many times. Ramachandra Prabhu, you know, I don't think you can now, but Dr.
Not right now.
The key to what it's not very many things. It's about 3 or 4 paragraphs, maybe 1 page. And on that page, he says, when the pure devotee speaks, meaning Uttamadakari, meaning Srila Prabhupada, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, or Thakur Bhaktivinoda, but not these ISKCON gurus, that when the pure devotee speaks, it is transcendently pure. But to whom is he speaking? He's speaking to someone or someones, and they hear him speak, but they're not Uttama Adhikaris. Prabhus. Mohit, you are catching that?
Yes, Haribo. So
Okay, so they
Point
are not Uttama Adhikaris. And then they come to the people that listened, who now are wearing tilak and whatnot, and a saffron robe, because they heard the message and accepted it. They say, what did, oh great sadhu in saffron, what did you hear from the pure devotee? And so he says something, but he's not a pure devotee. They hear it and they accept it, because they accept that they put on the saffron cloth. Then he talks to the next one, and the next one, next one. You talk to 10 layers of people from the original speaker, and they all accept it. So you might say, that's wonderful. We've all accepted the mercy of the Uttama Adhikari, the transcendental person. But that is not true, because each time you hear and speak, you degrade the message due to you not being a pure devotee. It's not your fault. It's just the laws of nature. You speak and you speak to the next person, they get less. The next person speaking gets even less. The next person getting even less, even less, even less. Finally, if it all turns into a series of gurus and big shot spiritual masters and people that think they know what they're doing, you end up with what Thakur Bhaktivinoda calls sectarianism. And if sectarianism keeps on going, well, there's different sects. Can you imagine one person, pure devotee, let's not say Prabhupada to confuse us all. One person is a pure devotee and speaks. He speaks to one person, 2 people, 3 people. They go out and speak to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. They go out and speak to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people until the message is, delivered as best they can. Then somebody wants to become a guru of theirs in order to deliver people when the original speaker is gone, Kendra Samadhi. So they want to become the next layer of guru. But they all heard slightly differently, didn't they? So all these gurus, at the best, are going to be speaking what they think is the supreme absolute truth according to their conditioning. Each one of them according to their conditioning. So you keep that going down maybe 100 layers, of sectarianism, you're going to get one branch angry at the other branch. Does that make sense, Mohit? Oh, I don't want to disturb you if you don't to be offline. That's okay, as long as you can hear.
It's making
Because
sense.
I'm speaking for you. So one branch will disagree with another branch and say, you did not hear it correctly. And they'll say, oh, no, you did not hear it correctly. They will disagree. They will quarrel. They will say, you're bogus. The other will say, no, you're bogus. Then they keep on going, maybe 200 more levels down of disciplic succession, of insufficient guidance, insufficient successors. They go down another bunch of layers. And then what happens? They may start killing each other. Like, look at it in our own Western civilization, the Catholic Church and the Protestants killing each other, the Catholic Church killing their very most devoted henchmen called the Knights of Malta. They killed them all, even though they brought unlimited wealth to the church. They became suspicious of them being independent and killed them all. And then the Protestants, Prabhupada says, once a Protestant, always a Protestant, because a Protestant is always protesting. So you have like hundreds of different types of Protestants. Put them in a room and they'll kill each other. So that is sectarianism. It goes from mild differences to major disagreements to very serious disagreements, down to lethal disagreements where they kill each other over one is blaspheming and the other is the blasphemer. And then the blasphemer says, no, we are preaching the main message. You are the blasphemer. Then they kill each other. How do we prevent that? I'm not going to ask anyone to say, but I will say, how do we prevent that? By having ISKCON free with elections every 3 years of the GBC, each temple independent so that you can't combine two temples under one authority. And we have only one source of kirtan in the temple, that's Prabhupada. He is the source of the sound vibration. If we hear from him, we don't take it out and become a next generation guru. He remains the guru. We can go out chanting in his mood on Sankirtan. We can chant to everybody. We can get the new disciples in a temple to listen to him on recording, and then they chant. And they may chant better than I do. And then I'll listen to the recording so I can chant as well as they can. But the whole idea is to chant in the mood and the sound vibration of Srila Prabhupada, of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the transparent via medium of Krishna, who has left a lake of sound vibration in the form of recordings. And then, as temples progress, supposing everybody in that level that we're talking about dies of old age, well, you've started other temples with young people as the officiating acharyas running it. They will go on with Prabhupada in the center. Next one, Prabhupada in the center. Next one, Prabhupada in the center. Before you know it, 150 years is gone. Next up, 500 years is gone. Next 5,000 years is gone. Next 10,000 years is gone. And you have never once deviated from the sound vibration that Thakur Bhaktivinoda warns will lead to sectarianism, because the person who does the original kirtan, sound vibration, or initial words even, he is always the source. So that whoever you hear from that source. Now, supposing people have heard from that source, they've studied Prabhupada kirtan, lectures, everything on headphones, so that they're immersed in their spiritual master's sound vibration. Wow, does that sound horrible fate? A terrible fate. I'm immersed in my spiritual master's energy. Oh, that's terrible. Why aren't you individuating and going out and forming your own society? Are you joking? I want to be drowned in my spiritual master's sound vibration. in his presence, in his existence, drowned. Then, when I go out and preach to someone in the street, they, at that point, I am the next level away from the pure sound vibration. So my level is the first level of inauthenticity, and I give it on Sankirtan to somebody else, which is the third level of second level of inauthenticity. But if I keep on chanting as best I can, having heard from Prabhupada in his mood, in his melodies, I will be doing the best possible to spread his energy. And if people want the real thing, come on back to the temple. Come on back and drown in your spiritual master's energy. My spiritual master, I thought he was your spiritual master. Let's get this straight. He's everybody's spiritual master. Do you think he's so tiny that he cannot embrace everyone? He embraced the people that murdered him when he was on earth. He embraced a bunch of rebellious people that refused to bow down to him. Oh, they bowed down, but refused to obey him. 100 GBC demons, he embraced them. If they're gone and you're sincere and want to surrender, why won't he surrender? Why won't he accept you with his heart? Why won't he accept you in his existence? Am I speaking channeled? Am I speaking truth coming from Krishna Loka? Or am I making this up? It's up to you to decide. What do you think? Is this made up or is it the truth? Uh-oh, nobody's answering. Ramachandra?
I'm just looking at the, I'm looking at the, we got some comments and questions. So I was just browsing through that.
Before you go to them, did you hear what I said? I ended up saying,
Yes.
Is this my own interpretation or mental concoction?
No, bro.
Or is this the truth?
No, Haribo. This is the truth for the next 10,000 years. That's for sure, bro.
That's right.
That's
Rupa
written by
Manjari?
Prabhupada, bro. Haribo.
Rupa,
Yes,
is this my concoction or is this the truth?
I think it's the truth.
Thank you. Is there anyone listening as we are speaking, or afterwards when this recording is put on YouTube? Is there anyone who can say that I've made this up and it's not the truth? Or will everyone have to agree? I have spoken the truth, substantiated by the great soul, the great Acharya, who is the father of Prabhupada's spiritual master, and who is coming through Prabhupada, is Prabhupada, who came through Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Gorkashodas Babaji, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And when he speaks, is he not fully present? So people have kept him under wraps in the archive. Now it's time to break open the storehouse of love of God a second time and let Srila Prabhupada out of that cage that we put him in order to become gurus, in order to chant our no-hatted fast rules melodies. Okay? Does anyone disagree?
No disagreement here.
Okay, Rupa, do you disagree?
No.
Ramachandra, do you disagree?
No disagreement here.
Mahaprabhu, do you disagree?
Mahaprabhu sleeping.
Mahaprabhu is not there.
Okay. Well, in your dreams,
He's
do
in
you
the last
disagree?
with
While
and
sleeping,
Vrindavan,
do you
bro.
disagree in your dream state? Okay, so now, Ramachandra, go ahead with the questions.
Okay, let's see what was the questions here. We got how much time we have? 1 second. We have about 9 minutes. Edwin also made a comment about discussing about God brothers. By discussing all this offenses, you are sharing their karma. By discussing, things that happened, which were unfortunate.
I don't understand what can you reread that? It doesn't make sense.
Saying saying by discussing all this offenses, you are sharing their karma.
Am I whatting their karma?
Sharing their
Sharing
karma.
their karma?
Yeah,
No. Keep going. What else
that's
does
it.
he say? Oh,
He's saying that
by
that's it.
naming his offenses? No. I mean, if you tell a man slaughtering a cow, you're slaughtering a cow, are you sharing his karma? Or are you trying to
Absolutely
liberate
not.
him from his karma?
Yeah.
If my godbrothers have done this, let's say maybe 98% out of ignorance, maybe 5% out of ignorance. Whatever their motive is for not taking advantage of a pure devotee of the Lord who's fully present in recorded form, can't be. He's not missing. He's there. So if we accept him living still and sound, then how can I be accepting the karma of someone I'm inviting into it? I'm not rejecting my godbrothers. I reject what they did. And you could say, well, if you reject what someone does, are you not rejecting the doer of what was done? No, I'm rejecting what they did, leaving them exposed to the court of Yamaraj. I'm not Yamaraj. I'm not a Yamaduta. They can face the music when the time comes, or they can accept the invitation of Mahaprabhu, of Mohit, of Ramachandra, of Rupa Manjari. We're offering you, come and join us. We can isolate you for what you've done, but that doesn't mean you can't come and join us. Come and join us. We don't hold any hard feeling. If you come and join us and try to say that that Prabhupada is not worthy to hear, then you are going to have to take a vacation for a while until you realize the truth. But otherwise, come and join us. It's the Gosti. It's the Gosti means we're all equal. You're mistaken, you're equal to me. If I'm mistaken, I'm equal to you. If I'm right or if you're right, then we're equal and enlightening each other. So let's keep going. Any more, Ramachandra?
Let me check.
Huh?
Let me check. No, nothing else.
That's the last
Oh,
comment?
no. There's one more question by Edwin Chandra. Why did
Let's go for
Prabhupada
it.
give sannyas to unqualified disciples?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. It's either an easy question or a very, very difficult question, depending how you want to look at it. I happen to know the answer. And I know the answer because Prabhupada made it clear. The sannyasi who takes sannyas and falls down takes a low birth. But if Prabhupada gives someone sannyas and they go out and use that sannyas to dumbfound all of the Indians in India, I came to India in 1971, and we went to so many pandals. All the rich people couldn't have enough of us. They put up pandals, had gigantic feasts with their best cooks at the stirring the pots. And we came there, we chanted, and we had sannyasis, we had householder women, we had children, a few children, we had brahmacharis, we had householders in white, men, and the sannyasis. The preaching power of the sannyasis was overwhelming. The Indian population could not even begin to understand how a Westerner could even become a devotee wearing karmi clothes and maybe smearing some tilak on their forehead. They couldn't understand how we could be wearing white for householder, saffron for brahmachari and sannyasi. How sannyasi could exist? How the women will be wearing saris, not like Indian women who kept the sari over their shoulder these days, but the way they used to wear sari was the sari over the head to protect the head, because women are not supposed to expose their hair and head to the atmosphere, to the sun, to the wind, anything. They had to be protected for chastity's sake. And because they became adventurous, they threw the sari over their shoulder. We went to so many programs, and rich people, they had sari over the shoulder. We came in practically beggars, but nicely dressed, cleanly dressed, and with the sari over the head. We immediately took over the whole party. They could not match up to us because they had the sari over their shoulder. We immediately outclassed them in their own home of, multi-trillion lakh home. And so what about sannyasis taking sannyas and falling down? Well, Prabhupada knew they were going to fall down. Not all of them have. Some of them have and gotten back up again and put the sannyas cloth on. But he knew some of them would fall down. But he gave them a chance to risk themselves on a very high platform, preach on a very, very, the sannyasi has nothing. His tridanda is everything, and a bag with all of his possessions in his hand, plus his bead bag. The sannyasi has nothing. Therefore, he's naked. He's wearing a dhoti, yes, but he's naked karmically. He's naked. He is being eaten alive by every lusty woman or man when I say man, lusty for anger, lusty for power. The sannyasi has to endure all of that, and he does. And Prabhupada put these men, American men, who knows, they may be sannyasi in a previous life. That's a different issue. But he put these men in the position of becoming sannyasi, and they did brilliantly as sannyasi. They didn't act stupidly. They didn't act non-sannyas-like. But in the end, some of them were overcome by material desire. If they had had Prabhupada in the center, and if ISKCON had been Prabhupada in the center, if they hadn't been sannyasis within the GBC structure that murdered Prabhupada and stole his movement in 1970, well, they may have stayed sannyasi. Who knows?
Time's up.
I'm sure you're right. Now let me just finish. So that the fact that they became sannyasi when they did very well. If they had taken sannyas starting when they took sannyas in an ISKCON that had elected GBCs and still kept Prabhupada in the center without other melodies contaminating the ether, who knows? Some of them might have remained. But what happened to them is they ran out of shelter. ISKCON ceased to, the GBC ISKCON became so jealous of every ISKCON member that the sannyasis ran out of shelter and they couldn't just go off on their own. And if they did go off on their own, what would they do? Become gurus? The ISKCON had distanced itself. The GBC ISKCON had destroyed the link with Srila Prabhupada, abandoned Srila Prabhupada. So the sannyasis had nowhere to turn. So I'm sure that Yamaraj and Prabhupada will empower them again and forgive them and have mercy, I should say, on them for having stuck with sannyas even after the GBC, murderous, illegal, illicit, non-elected GBC, after they polluted the atmosphere. The sannyasi really, if you look at it from a bit practically, had no choice but to fall down. Where would he go? What would he do? Okay, that's all I have to say. Is there any other comment? We must take another comment if there is one. If there is no other comment, then we can declare that we're finished.
Let's see here. Pulling it up here. Okay, that's about it, and nothing else, Prabhu. Thank you very much to all the devotees for joining this Thursday night Zoom meeting. Our next meeting will be on Sunday. 8 p.m.
Yes.
California time. So,
And in the meanwhile,
joy.
consider that Prabhupada is alive and well in transcendental form in his sound recordings. Jump right in, download his sound, listen to it, and realize that is ISKCON for the next 10,000 years. Not some people stumbling along in the dark.
Joy. Okay. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. All glory to
Hare
Srila
Bol.
Prabhupada.
Oh, glory
Hare Krishna.